My name is Umut Shayakhmetova. I'm CEO of Halyk Bank, Kazakhstan. I'm very happy to be here on the Voices of the Future.
Umut, thank you very much for joining us today on Voices of the Future. It's an absolute privilege and a genuine, I'm humbled by your presence. I met you recently. I was extremely impressed with what you're doing and really impressed with your thinking. You mentioned that you spent 15 years in banking, or 20 years in banking, but 15 years as CEO. And what was refreshing is that you are still very, very alert into the future. You have not become jaded. You're not sitting on your achievements, because many people can. People in your position at your level, you can easily last another 5 or 10 years by just being politically correct and just managing things. But you're not. You're actually pushing the boundaries and pushing the barriers. And this is what Voices of the Future is all about. It's about making a difference, bringing about change, and we go into the deep future. But Umut, before we go into the future, let's go a little bit into the past, a little bit like Hollywood. Can we talk about little Umut? Were you a naughty girl? Were you getting A's at school? Were you curious? And who sort of inspired you when you were a young person?
I was born and raised in Soviet Union times, yes. And this country doesn't exist today. But it was very, very ideologist society. Yeah. And everybody was thinking about communism and how we will reach there in, I think, 1980. There were some different years set. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was a very active child, mm-hmm. And very responsible. So I was studying only on excellent rates or yeah. grades. Yep. And I've received the gold medal as an excellent achievement when I graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I was very active in my social role. Mm-hmm. I was chief of the class. I was a Komsomol leader. I was even included in the Komsomol committee. So I was very active and trying really be an example. Yeah. And was trying to be a good girl in terms of the school role. Yeah. And at the same time, I was really in the beliefs. Mm. I trusted, I believed in this communism goal and communism target that we will reach it when I will graduate my school and we will live in this communism time. So I tried from my heart to make whatever I could. Then I graduated in Almaty, Kazakhstan, at the high school, as I said, with the gold medal. And I went to Moscow to try to be accepted into Moscow University. And it was People's Friendship University in Moscow. It was very high competition, around, I don't know, 200 people for one place. And it was in face-to-face discussions and all these exams. I was accepted. I received the highest rates, the highest number of rates among all these students, thousands of students. I was accepted to the university. And I lived for 6 years at the dorm. And it was, in those days, 70% would be foreign students. And only 30% would be Soviet students, not Kazakh, but Soviet from all over the Soviet Union. And in the rooms, we were mixed, and I lived different years. They would change the residents. So I lived with students from Sri Lanka, India, Pakistan, Yemen, Syria, Palestine, then Lebanon. I studied also Arabic language. That's why I was always living with Arabic students. Ethiopia, Guyana. So every year it was a new exposure to a new person and to new culture. This is very important. To new traditions. And it was very, very, I would say, fruitful years because it was exposure to the whole world. So we were living together. It's not easy to live in the dorm at the campus, but we were able to find this friendship, to communicate with each other, to find all these ties. And I think this was one of the best, of course, student years when I was formed as a person, very open-minded. That there are, especially in the Soviet Union times, it was very closed society. So you would not be allowed to go outside of the Soviet Union. So we would live always inside. There was no free television or free information flow. But we would get a lot of information from this personal interaction and friendship. And this really made a big difference and changed my mind. That I became very open-minded. I really lived on the ideology, idealist. I was idealist.
Yes.
I thought that there is no races, no color of skin, no difference in people. Everybody is equal. Everybody is friend. So it was such an environment that really built us as a very good, I would say, world citizens. This is was good environment in this university.
It's wonderful to hear that, because a lot of the Western perceptions of the Soviet Union was going to be that it is very, very controlled and blinkered. And the fact that you became an idealist and you were meeting so many different people, it's amazing how that shaped you. And I think that perhaps made you who you are today.
Well, but when I was graduating the university, the Soviet Union collapsed.
Yes.
And all our diplomas, everything which we believed into communism was destroyed.
Yes.
And I was very lucky. I went to US to study MBA. And first of all, we went for language courses. And then I met a teacher of English lessons, and he said, well, you have very good education, you have a technical background, you should try to get GMAT and go for MBA program. In those years, I didn't know that MBA exists. So his advice was very important for me. And I took GMAT. I was accepted by the Rutgers University in New Jersey.
Yes.
And I lived in US for 3 years with my husband and my older son. And this really also changed our mind. This was cultural shock. This was, I don't know, the experience of educational shock. It was even experience of values shock, because US is a very different culture. I've seen the races exist. I've seen the immigrants issues, because I was yellow immigrant. So, and it was a shock in my values. So some values were destroyed, but I got absolutely new, very useful qualities. That you should be competitive. You should be, you should compete on your merits. You should study hard. So you should be able to look for the future. It's a market economy, because in Soviet Union I was studying plant economy. So there was no market economy. But I took MBA, and it's like marketing lessons. We never before were taking this kind of lessons. So it's a different financial analysis, and all these subjects were absolutely different from our Moscow University. So it was very hard time for me. As I said, there was a shock and big stress in terms of the mind change, but very, very helpful. And I think it also was very positive for my formation, for the character, for the being able to be open-minded to absolutely new challenges. Because we were taught that the Western world, there is a discrimination of people, that there is a war, only rich people can live happily. There is no trust and all this stuff. So in the Soviet Union time, they was always saying, okay, the Western world is very bad, I would say. But when I came to US, it was
Yeah.
absolutely different. Well,
Yes.
everybody, if you have your ambitions, qualities, there are always opportunities. You can work, you can be also achieve. This is American dream and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's really changed my mind a lot.
Indeed, I think what you said is quite insightful, that it was a shock to your system. And actually, when there is a shock to the system, human beings and especially smart people like you grow. And it immediately, because your brain connects and engages, and then you start discovering new things. Without a shock, you become flat. With a shock, you actually
Yes.
you grow exponentially. And also, it's very interesting, your story, because from a communist background into a capitalist background, and I actually have a lot of concern with what I call hypercapitalism today, because the disparity of income is becoming too much. The consumer thinking is becoming too extreme, too much money in the hands of too few people. And funnily enough, I talk about we talk about oligarchs in Russia, and I call them techno oligarchs in the US, because Bezos and Musk and Zuckerberg and all of these people, they are technology oligarchs. Their role is exactly the same. So I can bring that in. And then another feature I talk about is techno-colonialism. That tomorrow's colonialism will not be geographical by countries, but Amazon will go and buy Cyprus, or an Apple will go and buy Malta. So the new countries are going to be, Apple in the middle of the Mediterranean, run by Malta as a government. And this sort of brings me into some new discussions when we talk about the future. But before we go into the future, after your brilliant MBA, you came back, joined ABN AMRO. Tell us about the early days at Halyk Bank. What did you find? Because it was basically a national bank. It was not the biggest and the best. What did you find there? And what was your first emotion, so to speak, to say, I'm going to make this into a great organization someday?
Mm-hmm. Well, when I joined in 2004 Halyk Bank, it was also a big shock for me because I came from US as an educational program. Then I worked for 8 years in ABN AMRO, Kazakhstan, and I grew from the specialist to the deputy CEO. And ABN AMRO is very, very clean, not small bank, but the companies are like internationally audited. All the financials are transparent and very different approach to the clients. When I came to Halyk, everything was absolutely different. The bank was even didn't have the centralized accounting system. Every branch had a different accounting balance sheet, and it would be sent by Excels, and people will sit and by line put it in here in the office. So to get your financials as a bank, you would need maybe 2 months for the last date. So it was absolutely not automated. Again, Soviet Union still culture of our cashiers, of our managers, of our even some people in head office. And I thought, okay, I will stay here for 6 months and I will leave. So I will not stay here for long. And why I came here from the beginning. But again, at the same time, it was a challenge. And I wanted to achieve something. I was the only deputy CEO as a woman, all men, around, I know, 8, 10 people. And to prove myself in those years, and being as a woman also took me certain efforts, extra efforts, to prove that I have a good education. I'm professional from ABN AMRO. I work only on my professionalism. So, and year by year, finally, I was able to build this team. I invited many people from ABN AMRO. And in those days, it was something around 16 people came at the middle management level. And we started to make the difference. The difference was from back office operations and also from front office operations. So we started to talk about clients. We started to talk about products, services, how we measure this cost of services, for example. Even this kind of thinking was not present in Halyk in those days.
Yeah, yeah.
The bank was able to go for international markets because again, as I said, accounting and financial standards were changed. The bank had started to go through international auditing procedures. Halyk went to London Stock Exchange in 2006. And as of today, we are the oldest public company in Kazakhstan, which is listed in London. So it was not easy.
Yeah.
It was a lot of hard work, but again, it was teamwork.
Yeah.
Many people came to Halyk.
Yeah. So what I am seeing here, that you are doing probably the most difficult thing that can happen in any organization, and that's culture shift. Because organizations can improve efficiency, they can improve products, they can have integration, they can have systems. But the culture shift is, to me, what you have achieved is so amazing. Did you actually consciously sort of think about, oh, I am going to change the culture of this organization to be open-minded, international, client-focused, client-oriented, technologically driven? Was that the thinking, or it evolved over time?
No. When I was responsible as a deputy CEO for corporate banking, yes, it was the thinking. I will change the culture. I will change the client-centric relationship. I will change the whole way how we deal with the client. It was even very small step, like in ABN AMRO, we as client managers, we will go to the client to talk to the client. When I came to Halyk, it was absolutely different. Clients will come to the bank. And when I started as being deputy CEO, it's a high level to go to the client, to see their projects, their plans, and their offices. It was very shocking for the clients as well.
Right.
Because they said, well, never the banker at a high level would come to our office. Are you coming with the audit? Why did you come? So they were also very alert. But then when you come and you say, okay, we came to talk to you, we would like to hear you, what are your needs? So it's also changed the attitude to Halyk, and first to corporate banking. Then when I was appointed as a CEO, then we tried to make this change to the whole organization.
So that big jump from deputy CEO to CEO, it's not a small jump. It's a very, very big jump, as you can imagine. And so obviously 10 male people, culture, all of that, and you was chosen. Telling me about what was that catalyst for them to choose you, and how did you, when you took over that role, what did you feel, and what was the first thing you did?
It was January 2009. It was the peak of financial crisis. And our CEO, he was promoted and appointed as chairman of the National Bank, of Central Bank in Kazakhstan. And yes, I was the only deputy woman. And the choice was, there were discussions. Okay, it's a crisis. She's the youngest. She's a woman. Everything like all this, against me. The only, I think, values which were really finally helped to make a decision: professional, honest, very, I would think, committed and devoted to organization, to the bank, trying to make a difference. I know, responsible, honest. I think this kind of qualities help me.
I would go one stage further, and as I would say that I think you demonstrated the abilities as a crisis manager, as somebody who had the confidence to be able to take that on. The other is, it's very scary to become a CEO at the time of a crisis. And you were brave, you were young, and you said, I'm going to take this. and I'm going to move
Yes.
forward with this. And they must be thinking like, okay, maybe she's naive and maybe she'll work or she will not, but let's give her this chance. And I think maybe the crisis worked in your favor, because they chose you to handle a situation which everybody was scared of, and therefore, normal people will not want to take that job because they might fail. While a young, smart, intelligent, honest person taking over and saying, nope, I got it. This is mine.
Yeah.
I'm moving forward with that. Was that the kind of internal feeling that you had, and like an inner strength that I'm going to make this thing work in a crisis?
Well, I thought, okay, I feel that I have my strength.
Yeah.
And I thought, why should I regret? Let's try. Let's risk.
Yeah.
It's better to risk and then regret.
Yeah.
Or even not to take a risk and then regret. Yes. So let's try. So that's why I took this risk, but it was a lot of hard work. So I didn't take even one day off during the whole year. I was working first days, I remember, till midnight, because I had to study first as a CEO. I had to look to all the other areas and other sectors, because I was only like a corporate banking responsible deputy. But then I had to go to back office issues, to SME, to retail, and a lot of discussions with the regulator in those days, with auditors, our international investors, and so on. Yeah. So it was really hard work. But yes, my decision was based, okay, let's try, let's risk, and not regret later. So I have to prove that it was the right decision. So, and I said, no, I can try. I would love to try.
Indeed. And you became an amazing role model, because you actually started moving the needle. A lot of women followed up and became leaders in banks. I think you were the first, but then many followed afterwards. So that role model that you have become as a woman, a banker, professional, and leading a very successful organization, what sort of inspiration are you providing to young people and to other professionals in your day-to-day work?
In my early years of working of job, I didn't think about inspiration, to be inspirational to others. I was just thinking about my building my professional skills, being the right and good CEO. Now, in today's times, I already think that I should try to share what I can with the younger people, with younger professionals, and I do a lot of social roles. Like, for example, I am leading the Women's Entrepreneurial Forum and developments in Kazakhstan. I go to the universities, give lectures to students. So I meet with the young professionals. So I really, whatever, if I can help, whatever, if my thoughts or examples can help to even one person out of 30, I am already very happy about it.
Indeed.
So this is maybe next level of mental development. But I think, yes, when you reach certain experience, you try to share, you try to help younger people. And for me, if I would meet somebody in my early ages, the person who could help me, spend some time with me, give me some advices, it would be very, very valuable. And maybe I would not have some mistakes which I had.
But from mistakes you learn. Mistakes are opportunities to develop, which also brings me to the key question. I have what I call the 5 F's of failure, and in a communist society and in the kind of society, failure is not accepted. So I say, you have to fail fast, fail frequently, fail frugally, which is not expensive. Failure is not fatal, and fail and move forward. Which is about experimentation, learning, development, innovation. So my question to you is about innovation. You have, throughout your career, been extremely innovative. what is the engine and desire inside to take that risk? Because innovation has an element, there's this balance of innovation and risk that you have to take. Can you talk to us about some of the innovations that you did? I know SMEs, women, technology, but what are your favorite examples of innovation?
Well, definitely development of the digital services in the bank, that now everything you can, as I said, when I came here, you would fill in a lot of papers, and even inside of the bank, everything would be on paper, and you didn't have the centralized booking system. But today, everything is online. So very digital. You don't have to come to the bank. You open your account through your mobile. You get the loan through mobile. You go, and we are also developing the ecosystem. It's not only banking, but also non-banking services like insurance, life insurance, take a car loan. And I was especially satisfied when the coronavirus started, COVID. And we were able in Kazakhstan to switch very easily to only digital services, because branches were closed. People were afraid to come to the branches. But just maybe 2 months before the coronavirus, we launched these fully digital services.
Right.
And that was just the right time. And it also gave us a lot of clients to the bank. And also we optimized a lot on our operations. We went through, of course, and also cybersecurity development. And now we are looking on the next level, like AI development, data fabric, which we built 5 years ago, data science, as I said, the AI, generative AI. So all these discussions today are in the bank, in the team, and this is already different level of discussions and different level of new targets.
Yeah. So now you're number one bank. You are leading in the region. You've got 15 subsidiaries, 20 subsidiaries out there, and growing very rapidly. How do you take the bank to the next level? I mean, what's the next big jump that you make?
Well, right now we are working on our strategy development for the next cycle, and I think that AI definitely is a new disruption for all the industries, and especially the banking and financial and anything which is related to the client services industries. And right now, as I already said, we are in discussion. Do we live as a bank and continue to work as a bank, or we are going to be or something like banking as a commodity and non-banking operation and services? We have to look and put more efforts on building this kind of services. So a lot of challenges ahead. We have very strong competition in the country.
Yeah.
We have very strong competitor in retail. Yes, we are maybe at this point of time feel confident in corporate and SME,
yeah.
But retail side is very competitive in Kazakhstan.
Understood. Yeah.
And also in the region, and also in the world. And clients becoming less loyal. They very easily switch from one application to another. So you have to be always in the front in order to satisfy the client needs.
Yeah. You know, this afternoon, I am also interviewing the largest telco in Africa and the CEO there. And his vision is to become the biggest fintech in Africa. And just take the example of China, because China, just like in the Soviet Union, but China didn't have a real banking system. So they went from a traditional environment to the mobile environment. They just took that big leap forward.
Yes.
So 98% of all of the transactions are happening on mobile, and $77 trillion worth of transactions in China. Now, Africa is exactly the same, because there's obviously the issue of inclusion of women and all of that. And one thing they all have and is a mobile phone. And now they're getting into a smartphone. So Did you ever imagine that your competitors will be telcos and not other banks or technology companies?
Yes, definitely. Actually, about telecom companies, they were discussions, I think maybe even 10 years ago, when already they started to go into payment systems, payment operations, payment services. They started even to provide the small, I would say, overdraft lines, something like that, some credits on the telecom payments.
They were looking at microfinance. They were looking at microfinance and things like that. I assume.
No, not in Kazakhstan.
No. Okay.
Because of the regulation.
I understand.
But on the payment side, definitely they already started 10 years ago. And we, the banks, already had discussions 10 years ago that our competitors will be telecom companies. And banks will not be able to compete with telecom. But so far, banks outperformed the development of telecom companies, at least in Kazakhstan and maybe in the CIS region, when banks went out of the banking and providing today everything digital and even some telecom services to our clients. Today, we already compete with telecom companies on data center provision, on even lines. We have a teleport company, subsidiary of Halyk, where we provide even optical lines to our clients. And now we discuss about providing services through the cloud services. So we as a banks already talking about cloud services and building these big data centers. So I hope that banks will be able to compete as well with telecom. But definitely, yes, already 10 years ago, we are discussing with telecom companies and some other integrators on payment systems, our competitors today.
When we met a couple of weeks ago, I was fascinated by your interesting perceptions about the future, and we shared a lot of thoughts together. Question, a simple one: are you optimistic about the future?
Yes, I am. I'm very optimistic.
Very good. Do you think that we are giving our children a good planet, a working system, and a global organization that is actually working? Or do we need to fix anything before we pass on the baton to them?
Yeah, this is a provocative question. Of course, I think we should do much better. Even though today already there are a lot of discussions, initiatives about the ecology, about our planet, about ESG initiatives, but I think the humanity is not doing enough. And from one side, some countries they don't have enough resources really to switch to the green energy plants or green energy stations. Differently, it's like African countries, maybe Latin American countries, also some Asian countries. And on the other hand, there is a scarcity also of financing, cheap financing, because we talk a lot about green energy financing, but today the interest rates are very high. And when, for example, in Kazakhstan, some clients come and ask for cheap financing because it's a heavy investments, we cannot provide cheap financing. And even the international financial institutions like World Bank or EBRD or some other institutions also cannot today at the environment of high rates cannot provide cheap financing. So I think there are some like objective constraints and also subjective when people or countries or companies, they can try to do more, but they don't want to do, or maybe they have some other priorities. So yes, this is the issue. I think that everybody is worried. What will be in, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years with our planet? But at least we're already discussing. And this is the discussions at the table at the level of presidents, of CEOs of big companies, of business people. And I think it's already a good step.
One of the things we discussed and we agreed on is that because of digitization, anything that can be digitized will be, because it'll be 1,000,000 times faster and 1,000,000 times cheaper. But anything and everything that cannot be digitized, like love, harmony, ethics, heart, soul, creativity, imagination, spirit, trust, intuition, all of these things are 1,000,000 times more valuable. Are we doing the right things as far as our schools are concerned and as far as our business organizations are concerned to identify some of these more human skills to help build strategy for the future?
No, I think it's definitely not enough, because today what we see in our schools, universities, and even in organizations, the priorities are for hard skills.
Yeah. Everybody
is talking about being a digital person, being engineer, understand AI, understand IT, but nobody talks about just being a good person.
Yes.
With all these human values, which are, as you said, love, friendship, trust, integrity, loyalty. Loyalty to organization, for example, today it's people don't talk about it. So sometimes they just very narrow targeted to the project, to the certain period of time, and that's it. They resign, they go for the next one. And I see that this is especially in the young generation. Sometimes they miss it. And I think we definitely need to put much more attention to teach our children in families, in schools, in universities, and to keep these values and preserve them.
Absolutely. And one of the comments that I made in terms of the most important thing for the future was trust. As a futurist, that is what I proposed. And you strongly agreed with that, to trust followed by truth, transparency, integrity, ethics, and all of these components together to really be the foundation of any strategy that we build into the future. Firstly, what are your thoughts on that? And secondly, what practical actions can be taken in large organizations to address that?
Also brings to the table this discussion about code of ethics of AI. And today we already see that Elon Musk, he is suing Microsoft for not rightly using AI and AI technologies. So this is what I think will be a big issue. My view is that AI is like a nuclear weapon. It can be used either for creativeness, to create something, or it can destroy very easily. So that's why trust and code of ethics are very important, as we will go in a very fast phase of development of IT services right now.
I was going to say, I also call AI a weapon of mass destruction, like nuclear. And actually, it's worse than nuclear, because nuclear we can control. And after what happened 80 years ago in Hiroshima and Nagasaki, at least we put some guardrails, some structures, and the non-proliferation activities, etc. But as far as AI is concerned, there's almost nothing. The second piece is that we have generative AI, which actually means that it can actually create itself and develop itself, which nuclear weapons cannot, or nuclear fission cannot. So therefore, it has more potent value, strength, if not properly managed and controlled. So again, truth, ethics, all of these institutions are important. What kind of structures and guardrails do you see in the banking sector generally, and in your environment more particularly, in terms of maintaining the integrity and removing the bias of AI as we look forward?
Well, for example, in our organization, we already started to use and develop generative AI and to use AI technologies. And for me, it's very important that our employees, our people use it in the right way. We see that cyber criminals, they use like deep fakes, they use some also instruments, they try to attack our systems, and we have to be able to find out, to track them. But second, also, we have to be, I think, very ethical in terms of competition.
Sure.
Because what I see that competitors, sometimes they can act very unethically. So we see some news in the media, for example, those like fake news. And so this is, for us as a bank, the trust of our clients is the main value. The trust you can build hundreds of years, but you can lose it in one day if something will go wrong, and so if our activity will not be managed in a proper way.
Yeah.
That's why the value of trust of our clients is the most important for the bank, for Halyk Bank. And this is what we also raised to a very high level of awareness of our employees, that trust. You have to behave trustfully, and you cannot lie to clients, you cannot lie to your colleagues, you cannot lie to anybody. So we have internal code of ethics. We have right now already developing this AI technology usage in the bank, also with application of code of ethics. So this is very important.
Yeah. You know, you mentioned the word trust and lies. When I talk about trust, and I do a lot of conversation on this, trust is a multidimensional animal. It obviously is about truth and lies, but it's also about reliability. It's also about keeping small promises that I will deliver this project by tomorrow, and you actually deliver it by tomorrow. So you build that. Something called ambient trust, trust around us. A doctor, for example, is the most trusted because in the community, people trust that person. So building all of those dynamics of trust is certainly one of the greatest things for financial institutions as we go forward. Umut, diversity, and diversity not just in gender, which I know you are promoting and supporting, and amazingly and beautifully so, but also a diversity of thought, diversity of age, and other diversity. What is your thinking on that?
Well, definitely it helps, and you cannot be like biased into either gender or religion or whatever, because diversity gives different views, different competence, different experience. If, for example, we talk about the age, young generation and more mature generation, definitely we have different views of our employees, people, and I think it brings more professional level of discussion. And well, it's so obvious, so it's very important.
It's obvious, but it's not actually done. You know, I have established shadow youth boards where the maximum age is 25, 26, and we started around 16 to 18. And I did this for a public listed company recently, very successfully. The average age which is international, is for a board member in a large organization is about 63. So that's number one. And then we've got the people consuming are in their 20s, and the people who are executing are in their 40s and 50s. So there is this two-generational gap. So we created this youth board in the middle to be a shadow youth board member. And we brought those shadow youth board now. Two things. It cannot be from within the company, those shadow members, because if you're in the company, they'll be too scared of you. So, you know, they will not be able to express themselves. And the second thing I did was to bring at least 50%. We did 12 people on this youth board. 6 of them were from overseas, from MIT, from London University College, from China. And the reason was to bring in diversity of external thought into the young people locally. So 6 people from Kazakhstan and 6 people from outside. And very successfully, what they were doing is mutual mentoring. So the older ones, people like us, were giving wisdom, knowledge, experience, you know, etc. And the younger ones are providing us their capability with technology, with product, with where the trends, the creativity, where their trends are going and things like that. And this balance between the two is becoming, in my opinion, one of the most important things. And it's and last year, it was one of my most important initiatives, which hopefully one day we will share at Halik Bank, because it really changed the dynamic of the board in this particular place.
Yeah.
There were 7 men, 7 board members, a CEO and chairman, 9 people initially, all men, all over 55, and all 5 of the 7 were in finance. So there was no diversity, there was no future, and there were no women. So this is the kind of thing that I bring to the table. So yeah, I think youth boards and getting the youth voice, particularly in the world of generative AI and so on, is extremely important because they think differently. And I think we need that new kind of thinking. Happiness and love. What are your views on happiness? And are we living in an environment which is giving us enough love and humanity and vibrating at the higher level? Because I feel that as we look into the future, we are running so fast and so hard and chasing so many things. Consumer society, we have to get the new iPhone every year. We have to do this, we have to do that. Where is the importance for things like love and happiness in the future?
Well, in my view, of course, it's very important. But what I see in the youth generation, they see it differently. For example, even my daughter, she's now 16. She thinks that somebody likes her when they put some like in Instagram. So this is this is expression. And in our generation, in our view, of course, it's very different how we see.
Yeah.
But maybe we are lucky in Kazakhstan because of our cultural family values are still very strong, and family ties are also very strong. So we have this culture and traditions, stay with the family, kids, grandkids, grandfather, grandmother, and we are very close. It's like maybe Italian families, maybe something like that. But this really gives love in the families.
Yeah.
This gives this confidence and support in the families. I think this is the first way you get your love. Then, of course, this love with spouses or with girlfriends, boyfriends.
I mean, my whole thing was how much importance we give to that as we look into the future, because with all of these new things happening, and we are looking at new technologies coming in, we are actually moving us away from, again, back to those human values. And I feel love is one of them. You know, a quick story about Einstein. He was very depressed about the fact that his theory of relativity was being used to build the atomic bomb. And he said, you know, my biggest ambition would have been to build the love bomb, not the atom bomb. So in other words, he realized that that is the highest level of vibration that we so Umut, as we come towards the end of our conversation, let's put ourselves in a time machine, in a little capsule, and take you to your 100th birthday. You're only at halftime, and so we've got a long way to go. On your 100th,
I hope so.
Absolutely, we will be there. So as you look left and right, as you look outside your window, what do you see outside? And I will come and present myself to you and to celebrate your life. What are we celebrating with Umut at 100? 100,
first of all, I hope that I will stay around with my family, my kids, grandkids, grandkids, with my husband, with my friends, and that I still will be able to take some medicine and be very clear-minded, physically fit. And I think it doesn't matter what kind of technologies we will live in.
Yeah.
And what I see that humanity, they can live without technology. They can live with very high technology. But if you don't have the values and conditions which we right now discussed, like love, friendship, trust,
Yeah.
then I think this is the most important stuff. And
it's funny that I've interviewed billionaires and all sorts of people in there, and nobody's ever spoken about money. Nobody has said, on my 100th birthday, I wish I had $1 billion. Nobody said that. Everybody went back to love and connection. You should remember the 3 H's. Yeah, you have to have H, which is healthy, happy, and 100. So
okay.
this is your new mantra.
Yeah.
That I want to be healthy, happy, and 100.
Yes.
But your daughter, your 16-year-old daughter, is likely to live to 125, 130. And I think those will be a lot of new dynamics, because then she will have a 100-year career. So therefore, building around passion and changing the society and the dynamics of society, built around what people love, what they want to solve, and then build our careers around that kind of environment. Where will Halyk Bank be at that point in time? Will it be a bank or not really?
Yeah, I think it will be. I think it will be maybe some fintech company, some company which will still work with the clients and oriented to clients. The organization which will be able to provide and serve the needs of the clients. I don't know, maybe it can be even medical services in the future.
Sure.
It can
absolutely.
be educational needs. It can provide media content.
Yeah.
So I don't think, and the payments will be like a legacy. It will be like a foundation, the base.
Yeah.
And whatever it will be built on it, it's difficult even to imagine.
Yeah, I mean, we could even possibly have a little Halyk Bank chip, which we can put in our brain, or a little tattoo, and that's the bank.
Or in the eye.
Or in the eye, exactly.
Yes.
No, I think a lot of these technologies are coming in, but you have beautifully articulated the human values, and we are very grateful for that, Umut. Finally, if you were to leave a message in a bottle for your 16-year-old to find on her 21st birthday, what would that one-line message would be for her and for all other young people that are out there? Just somewhere that we can find.
Be brave, don't be afraid, be happy, and be honest.
Amazing. Amazing, because I was going to ask you this question in a different way and say, what advice would you give a 16-year-old Umut at the age of 100? And I dare say it will be the same. Just be brave.
Yeah, be brave.
Yeah, be brave. I think we need to do that. Umut, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you. You've been very open, very authentic, and you shared a lot of your life stories and interests and so on. I'm very grateful.